And welcome to the Barry Foster Show, coming to you from the Ridge Floor Studios in the City of Charm, beautiful downtown Avon Park. As always, if you have any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions for the program, you can put them in the comments below, or you can send us an email at thebarryfostershow@gmail.com. If you'd like to become a sponsor, I've had some inquiries. Send me an email at thebarryfostershow@gmail.com. We'll send you a rate card, and you can sponsor this fine show as we begin to monetize it. We're back to another Florida Fun Travel. Sandra in the studio, my wife, beautiful wife, Sandra Foster, in the studios with us today. And again, cat delivery took us to Sarasota. We delivered a little over 24 cats to be spayed and neutered. And while we were there, we got to see the sights and enjoy everything that is Sarasota. Last time, as you remember, we went to Der Dutchman, which was a buffet. This time, we went to Yoders Amish Village. And last time we were there was not open for breakfast. This time on the way over, we called them up. They answered the phone. We said, "Are you open?" And they said yes. So we went in. We had breakfast in there. It was Yoders Restaurant in Amish Village is really an interesting place. It's over in the Pinecrest neighborhood. It is not only a restaurant, but there's a gift shop. The gift shop was not open for breakfast, so we only had a chance to go in and enjoy enjoy breakfast and all the trappings and all the ambiance that is the Amish. The folks were there. They dressed in traditional Amish garb. It was a good experience. I had the spinach omelet with cheese, and my spinach omelet was really good. I had a great spinach omelet. I had the shredded hash browns. Those also were very good. I had my choice of toast or a biscuit, but I also understood they had homemade pumpkin bread, so I had the homemade pumpkin bread. That and their coffee I thought was really good. How was your breakfast?
Well, I had a more traditional breakfast. I had the 2 eggs, and I asked for them over medium. And then I had biscuit and gravy and country potatoes that were sliced
How was it?
and bacon. The bacon was just like I like it, extra crispy.
I got half for bacon. I want you to know. I didn't even ask for it. And it was nice. It was crisp. The bacon was very good.
Yes, the bacon was good. I was disappointed. The biscuit was not freshly baked. It was more stale. And it was large. And it was apparently made on site, but it wasn't made within the hour.
Wasn't that day?
It wasn't. Well, at least it wasn't within the hour that we were there. And we were there early, so it's not like we were there at 10 o'clock expecting biscuits to be fresh.
Well, when we came in, there was hardly anybody in there. I mean, I got a bunch of shots of it was empty. By the time we left, it had filled up pretty well. There was a lot of folks there.
But I was disappointed. The eggs did not come as I had wanted them, and the potatoes were okay, and the biscuit I was disappointed in. But they did have on the table a container of apple butter that you could have at will. They also had jelly on the table, and that was okay. And we all had coffee, I believe, and we brought our own creamer.
Well, we use MCT oil, which is a coconut, dried coconut oil base. It's supposed to help you with your memory, which I need all the help I can get. And I shudder to think what my memory would be like if I didn't have the MCT oil. But the coffee was pretty good, and sometimes you can tell when the coffee's old or the coffee's been around a while, because when you put the MCT oil in, it doesn't change color. But this changed color pretty well, and I was very happy with the coffee.
And your MCT oil is powder and not the oil itself. And you also had um, 2 drops of um, coconut stevia, which sweetens it just a touch. And then um, she was good about coming back and refreshing the coffee as often as you wanted.
Yeah, she did. She did a pretty good job. And this apparently, from what we saw, is the 50th anniversary of Yoders. The hostess had a 50th anniversary shirt on, and so I looked at some of the photo displays, and it began in I think 1975 or 65. But anyway, it began at that time, and so it is. They're celebrating their 50th anniversary. So it was nice. That's they're really not known for their breakfast. They're really known for their lunches. They have fried chicken, which apparently was featured on TV. One of the Travel Channel TV shows had it. They're known for mashed potatoes and gravy. They're known for country fried steak. So they apparently do have stuffed French toast, which I don't really do a lot of sweets in the morning. When we went to do Dutchman, I was, doing eggs and other things. So I'm not much one for the really sweet stuff first thing in the morning, but they're
Well,
known for their stuffed French toast.
our friends who were with us, one of the others got an omelet, a Western omelet. She was pleased with it, and she had grits to go with her um, omelet. And so I suppose I was the only one disappointed, but I was the only one having the traditional Southern breakfast.
Yeah, it was opened in 1975, and it was it's on Bahia Vista Street in Sarasota, which was we went by it on the way to deliver the cats, but it was a fun place. There's a lot of ambiance. It reminded me kind of like the old Cracker Barrel used to be. They didn't quite have the vintage signs, but there was a lot of Amish sayings on the walls, and the booths, and it was quite comfortable, and the service was very good.
And as you checked out, there were quite a lot of the um, sweet rolls, things available for takeout with you.
We also took some time and we went over to Bayshore Avenue and went to see Unconditional Surrender for the folks who follow Florida Fun Travel. We'd gone about 7 or 8 years ago and found this over in Bayshore Park, which is it is a statue version of a very famous photograph of a Navy sailor kissing a nurse celebrating the end of the war. So it's really a lot of fun. It's I had thought it was taller when we went. I couldn't see it. And I couldn't see it. And finally, I saw it, but it's really only maybe 2 stories tall. I thought it was a lot taller than that, but this is one of a series of such pieces done by J. Seward Johnson II. It's a very interesting. It looks like it's made out of maybe fiberglass, but it's really. I was really amazed at the number of young couples that came up and took pictures at this statue. The one guy took pictures of his girlfriend who was standing with her arms on the legs of the Navy sailor and the nurse. She kind of looked like Samson getting ready to push the pillars and take the building down. But it was I was amazed at the number of people who came up and took pictures there.
There were several couples taking pictures, and some of them tried to mimic the pose of the sailor and the nurse. But it is a beautiful statue, and it is one that there's been some controversial about in Sarasota. In fact, they had moved it from where it had been the first time that we went to see it,
Hmm.
and it was because uh, it was
He didn't ask to kiss her. He just went and kissed her, and there was a photographer there, and he snapped the shot, and became an iconic shot.
But in interviewing the gal that from the picture, she had said years later that they were all excited and it was okay. She wasn't complaining about it. but it wasn't politically correct to just grab a gal and give her a kiss. And so there were people who insisted that it needed to be in a different location.
The proponents call it the Eiffel Tower of Sarasota. I'm not sure that that's, though other people say it's kind of kitschy or tacky, but it went up in 2000. Well, it actually went up as a styrofoam rendering in 2005, and then they brought it back in aluminum in 2009. And it's but it's there in Bayfront Park. It's easy access. You can park there. There's a big marina. You can walk around in the grass on the sidewalks.
And it was a very nice shaded, cool spot for us to sit for. We sat for quite a long time and just talked and had a good time while we were waiting for the kittens to be ready to be picked up. And I think it'd be a great picnic area. You have the boats there along the waterfront, and there was also a park area where the kids could go and play. But mostly we saw young couples and older adults who were there, and they all seemed to. In fact, it was amazing how many of them came and only spent a few minutes having their picture made there with a statue.
Yeah, it was again. I thought it was very interesting the number of people that came up and got their pictures made up there. It's a fun, and the nice thing is it doesn't cost you a dime to go and do that. And it's getting to be the time of year now where it's kind of cooled off a little bit. You can walk through the shade and enjoy the breeze, watch the boats coming in, going out. It's a lot of fun.
Well, the contrast of the white nurse's uniform against the sailor, the typical sailor outfit with the big collar and all the crisp pants and shoes. It made a wonderful picture.
And I will tell you, it probably needs a couple of things. Probably needs to be pressure washed, and there's some places where the paint's kind of flaked off over there. There was a woman had hit it with a car and knocked it down. They put it back up again, I think in 2012, something like that. At any rate, it could use a little maintenance, but if you're looking for something in Sarasota, you're looking for a little kill a little time, have a little fun, you can stop over there at Bayshore Park, and if you put in Unconditional Surrender on your GPS on your Waze, you can find it pretty quickly. It works out pretty well.
Well, one of the other things we did that we all enjoyed was going to Morton's. That is a little grocery deli type place, that bakery that we have been to previously, and they have so many wonderful different offerings there. Just about anything bakery or they had some huge ribeye and T-bone and all other kind of steaks. It's just amazing. They have that meat market right there in the spot. And they also have full meals that you can select sort of at a counter of sort of like a like a cafeteria type
Well,
thing.
yeah, we went in during lunch hour, and Morton's has been there since 1969. And we went in, and we you can go in the front or the back. We went in the back. There's a bunch of tables with umbrellas where you can sit, and there's a little pizzeria there. If you want to get pizza, you want to get sandwiches, you can get something. There was a lot of folks going in there, getting a little something to eat, and either carrying it out and carrying it back to work, or sitting under the tables there. It's animal friendly. There were some folks with their dogs sitting out there and enjoying themselves, and but when you go in, there's a huge center circle, which is their deli, and you can get potato salad, and you can get macaroni salad, and you can get all kinds of side dishes in there, pickle salad, and just all that kind of stuff.
But they had a lot of fancier type salads, shrimp. Oh, they had a huge shrimp salad there. They also had all sorts of crusted fish, trout, and some other things that they had there in that cool deli thing that you could take home or take with you. And They may have even had a microwave in there where you could have warmed them up.
Well, they had a huge selection of different kinds of cheeses that you could take, and different kinds of deli meats that you could mix and match, and of course some great breads. It's if you want to get something to eat right away, you can kind of go in there and get as much or as little as you want. In fact, one of our trips to Sarasota, Sandra and I went and got ourselves a smorgasbord of different things, and we were going to take it out for a picnic. But it rained so hard, we went back to the room and had our picnic on the bed. So
Yes, it's a great bakery. They had all kinds of different little cakes and pies, and they had them decorated for the fall and Halloween
mhm.
season. Um, they had just a marvelous amount of cheesecakes and things that they had with all of the little glazed fruit across the top of them. And we made it out of there without actually taking anything out of the bakery, which shocks me.
Yeah, well, you could get cookies by the single cookie or by the dozen. I mean, and they were the gal was very helpful. Wanted to, was there anything we wanted? And I said, "Want's an interesting word." Yeah, there was plenty that we wanted, nothing that we got, but it was a bakery unto itself, but then right across the store from there was a wine store, which was a wine store unto itself. American wines, imported wines, fruity wines, grape wines. I mean, if you're a wine drinker, there were literally hundreds of choices that you could have had.
Of course, one of the reasons we could easily resist purchasing anything in the bakery, and in fact, anything really out there, was because we had just finished breakfast only a few minutes before that. But they also had coolers full of all different kinds of juices. And Natalie's, isn't that
Out of Vero Beach. Yeah.
they had those that were somewhat therapeutic. They had one that was carrot and
Turmeric.
turmeric and ginger, and it had all different kinds of juices. There was also one that was an apple and more of a green thing with kale and other juices. Then they had just straight carrot juice or straight orange juice. And they also had many, many different kinds of sodas and teas and other drinks that were there in the cooler.
It was in it. Yeah, it was in a cooler case, and so it is a gourmet market. And as we took our friends, and I said, "You're going to see a lot of stuff here that you're not going to see anyplace else." And they were kind of interested and surprised at the wide selection and of things that we could have picked up there. They had this bottle of kind of lemonade. They call it lemonado. I did ask the girl. I said, "Is it alcoholic?" No, it's not alcoholic, but it had this resealable top, and I was really looking at this with big eyes because I said we could put, sparkling water. We could have put just anything like that in there and carried it around. I didn't want to spend $7 just for the bottle though.
They had all kinds of gift like chocolates, and they also had flowers. They also had, as you came in the store, they had big pots of flowers, purple flowers that had uh, fabric pumpkins in that would have been a great decoration for the door. They had lots of seasonal pots of flowers as you walked in. But our car was full of cats to go to the to the Sarasota neutering and spaying, and
The Humane Society of Sarasota County. Yes.
we we just didn't have room in our car to take very many things, except we were pretty well full of traps and cats. So we had to be careful what we were purchasing anyway.
Well, we did do a little bit of shopping. I got a tech grip holder for my phone that I'm going to use as part of the studio here when we do call-ins and some of that. We are able to get a few things, but it was interesting to stop by Morton's and we were talking. I said, if we'd have had some room, we had a cooler bag. Anything we could have taken home for dinner, we'd have had to kept cool. So we have to plan next time to stop by Morton's.
Well, when we're not taking cats to be neutered and spayed, we always have much more room in the car. But they do have seating at the front entrance as well as the back entrance, and you have a totally different view. The back entrance is more, they have trees, and it's more like park-like in the back. The front, you're facing the street, and you see all of the traffic go by.
Well, there's a nice little shopping area. There's Fifi's Fine Resale Shop where you can find some retro clothing and things like that. I mean, there's a nice little neighborhood to do some shopping if you want to go. And by the way, for the folks who like fish, they have a wonderful. We're not fish people, but they have a wonderful selection of sushi. And in fact, we went by the sushi bar and they said they were closed until noon. And then you could have gotten plenty of sushi and other kinds of fish. So they had that there. But it's a nice little neighborhood to walk through. You can kind of go out and enjoy yourself. And Morton's is a wonderful place to stop by since 1969. And we can recommend that if you're going to Sarasota and you want to, maybe I'll tell you, you wanted to stop there, get some food, then go and see Unconditional Surrender and eat at the picnic tables. You can do that. One thing that our friends, you can't not go is get ice cream. The last time we went to Pinecrest, we went to the Amish ice cream place. This time we went to the Fat Donkey, and there are 4 different Fat Donkeys. There's one in Indian Rocks Beach. There's one in Cocoa. We went, obviously, to the one in Sarasota, and it was a lot of fun. They had both a lot of different kinds of ice creams and ice cream concoctions as well.
Well, I was very torn. Everybody was getting ice cream, but I was thinking that a root beer float, they did offer that, and you know how I enjoy a root beer float.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, they have warm waffle ice cream sandwiches. They have warm churros, which is a churro with a big scoop of ice cream on the top. They have baked dessert jars over there. Sandra and I, we're very boring. We just had ice cream cones. And I had the waffle cone, but you had the chocolate cone, didn't you?
Well, it was a waffle type smaller cone that the rim of it had been dipped in chocolate.
Well, and I am a vanilla guy, and luckily it was more than vanilla. It was vanilla bean, although they have soft serve there, which I don't think counts actually as ice cream. But you got the butter pecan, which they advertised it loaded with lightly salted roasted pecans in it. Did it have that in there?
Yes, it did have quite a lot of pecans in it. In fact, it was loaded with them. I only got 1 scoop of ice cream, but when she handed it to me, I said, "Is this 1 scoop?" Because it looked like it was a lot more than 1 scoop of ice cream.
Well, one of the people we were with had just had a birthday, and I suggested the birthday cake ice cream, which has pieces of actual yellow cake and blue cotton candy. They have rainbow sprinkles, and she got that. It was a little sweet for her. But if you'd like, they had maybe probably more than a dozen different flavors. They had the cookie dough. They have that. They have the butterscotch bomb. They have the Calypso Crunch, which has peanut butter filled chocolate covered pretzels stuck in there. They've got cappuccino chip. They've got a lot of selections.
Well, one of our friends had a cup with 2 different scoops of ice cream. One of them was a dark chocolate look. I don't know what the other one was, but she got the 2 different ones in 1 cup of the ice cream.
Yeah, when I think she got the Baja chocolate and marshmallow as one of them. The little gal behind the counter said, you can get 2 different ice creams in this cup, and so yeah, sure, let's go ahead and do it. I mean, heck, we were over there to have some fun, and they've also got some selfie locations. They have a I took a picture of my ice cream cone in front of it, but there was some small children there, and they had a little surfboard and the fat donkey painted on the wall, and the kids could stand in front of that and have their picture made. There was some opportunities to do some selfies there.
Well, I didn't think the donkey, especially the one they had painted on the back wall, was very fat, even though that's what the name.
Yeah, he was not a fat donkey. So I'm not sure what.
Maybe they don't let him eat the ice cream.
I'm not sure what the story is behind the fat donkey, but he was not a fat donkey, but it was a fun place, and that also was in a little shopping area. But one thing you have to be careful of is you have to pay to park.
Got in trouble.
And we got in trouble. We pulled up there, and we were with our friends. I was trying to follow our friends around so that we didn't lose them. And she pointed at this empty space. I pulled in the empty space, and we ran out to catch up with, have a little food, And there was a place right next door that had geode rocks and some other things, some rock and roll memorabilia stuff. There was a clothing store there. There were some other stores, and I pulled up in front of the Crest store. It said 5, 10, 25 engraved in stone on the top of the building. It looked like a Kresge store. Anyway, it was closed, and so we parked there. And I came back, and there was a lady taking a picture of my car. I said, "Can I help you?"
In a uniform.
And well, yeah, I didn't. She had a little, like one of those "Don't Hit Me" vests on. And I said, "Can I help you?" And she says, "Well, you got to pay." I said, "Where?" Because there was no meter in front of this parking space. I said, "What are you?" And she says, "Oh," and she points down the street, the opposite direction of where we were going, and he says, "You pay there." And he says, "Don't you see the number on the curb?" Well, yeah, I guess there was a number on the curb, and so she gave us a warning. I said, I guess she'd run the tag and figured we weren't from Sarasota. And I said, we were just with our friends. I said, no, I'll just give you a warning this time. I said, "Oh, okay, fine. Thank you very much."
But it was not really obvious to us when we drove up in the fact that
you gotta be careful.
We crossed the street and was looking in the stores rather than looking. Maybe if we'd been by ourselves.
She said the signs are everywhere, and there were a lot of signs. There were like about no jaywalking. There were signs about the speed limit, and there was a lot of posted signs of slow.
And for the stores.
Yeah, so we had not seen this you pay to park sign, and course, I guess what you have to do is either you put the number in and stick your credit card in, or God forbid they got a QR code there that you use and pay with your telephone somehow. I suppose you got PayPal or.
I suppose we should have walked down and paid more attention to it in case we ever go back, because I bet now they've got a record of our.
Oh yeah, if I'm a scofflaw again, and I'm sure they'll give me. Well, we see you had a warning already. Yeah, I suppose I did, because Sarasota is a town of small neighborhoods, and to be honest with you, we've been a lot of places in Sarasota and never had to pay to park before. That was the first time. One of our friends had said they wanted to go into the downtown area, so we were poking around looking for the historic district, and when we were there at the statue, the Unconditional Surrender, she said, let's find an ice cream shop, and this was 0.4 of a mile from where we were or something. And I said, "You want to walk over there, and you want to take the car?" And my wife said, "If you have to cross the street, then we should probably drive."
Well,
so we drove.
Like 6 lanes of traffic we would have had to walk across, and I just didn't think that was probably a great idea. And especially it was getting closer to the time when we needed to pick up the cats, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to delay getting out of town.
So at any rate, we can tell you that on this trip, we can make some recommendations. If you go to Yoders for breakfast, I would suggest you get an omelet. That was what was suggested to me. The eggs over easy, not so good. We don't recommend them, and don't get a biscuit. The biscuits are not so good, but I can tell you the pumpkin bread was pretty darn good, and I'd say maybe go for lunch when you can go to the gift shop as well. I can tell you Unconditional Surrender, the place there where they have the Navy guy kissing the nurse. That's fun. It's free. You don't have to pay to park.
And lots of shade.
Morrison's Gourmet restaurant. Take a cooler with you and prepare to have a picnic lunch. You can get some really good stuff there, stuff that you can't find other places.
Well, they do have a hot. Every time we've been there, they've had different meats and meal choices over. They've had meatloaf. They've had different things, pork chops at the little cafeteria type line,
Mm-hmm.
and all sorts of vegetables. Very, very nice, tempting food there that you could get.
And a little area to shop. And the Fat Donkey Sarasota location, don't forget to pay when you park. But that's another little place that's full of quaint little shops to take a look at. And who knows, you might find something you like. And Christmas is coming. But that's our latest trip to Sarasota. Once again, Yoders, Morrison's Gourmet Market, Unconditional Surrender, and for dessert, the Fat Donkey.
And we can totally recommend the cat neutering and spaying at the Humane Society there.
Yes.
We took 28 one time, we took 26 this time, and they all came out really well.
Everything worked fine. And but I think that's going to be our cat delivery quota for a while. I think we're done with that. But we may go back to Sarasota before maybe we'll go back and tell you about the farmers market, which is always a lot of fun. You've been listening to the Barry Foster Show with Florida Fun Travel with my beautiful wife, Sandra. As always, if you have any thoughts, ideas, or suggestions, things you'd like us to talk about, or people you'd like us to interview, just put them in the comments below. And if you would like to be a sponsor, drop me a line at thebarryfostershow@gmail.com. As we continue to look for truth, justice, and the American way, this is Barry Foster, and we'll see you next time